Have you been able to catch a breath ever since the draft happened just a week ago? I mean, we're talking free agency, the Habs development camp, there's been some signings, but there's still a lot for Kent Hughes and company to do this summer. And today, we're going to check off 3 things that should be at the top of the Montreal Canadiens to-do list before rookie camp in the fall. Thanks very much to the NHL schedulers this past year for cramming the NHL awards, the NHL draft, and free agency into a span of 6 days. Thanks. What a week it has been. If all of the hubbub around the draft wasn't enough, and we talked about that at length last week, you should definitely click on the link up above if you missed that. But then free agency hit on Saturday, and league-wide, it was a flurry of activity, seeing players move this way and that way. Kent Hughes actually making a trade right out of the gate, sending Joel Edmundson off to Washington in exchange for some draft picks. I give that an A+, Kent Hughes. That's a great trade. Got the cap, got Edmundson's cap off of the books and got some draft picks for next year in return. I like that move. And Kent Hughes made some basically minor league signings as well. The Laval Rocket has made some AHL level signings this week in free agency as well. We all know that it is difficult to keep track of all of the signings and the trades and the contract extensions and the UFAs and the RFAs. Don't worry, got you covered. There are 2 links that I think that you should bookmark this summer. The first is our Canadiens off-season roster and trade tracker. The second thing is a Laval 2023-24 roster tracker, as well as the Canadiens unsigned prospects tracker. I'm going to link both of those articles down below in the comments, in the description, and trust me, go there, bookmark them, and that will be updated daily all summer long and frankly during the season as well, so that you can constantly have a place to go and quickly look at the Canadiens players and prospects and find out where they are, where they've moved to, or how they came to be with the organization. But today, we want to talk about what's left this summer. Well, there are 3 things that I think need to be top of the priority on the to-do list for Kent Hughes in the rest of this offseason. So first and foremost, get your restricted free agents who still don't have a contract extension signed, namely Jesse Ylönen. For me, he is the next big contract that Kent Hughes needs to be focusing on. We saw Raphael Harvey-Pinard was the first RFA to get a contract extension earlier this week. He re-ups for 2 years, averaging at about $1.1 million over the course of that. It's actually $1.2 million in the first year and an even million in the second year. I do like this contract for Harvey-Pinard, but now the focus needs to be on Ylönen, because Ylönen and Harvey-Pinard are your 2 RFAs that are really going to be battling for a roster spot at training camp this fall. Jesse Ylönen is an exceptionally good forward. He is not as splashy and flashy as Raphael Harvey-Pinard is. HP scores the goals. He's very, he's noticeable. He gets in around the net and gets into the dirty areas and things like that. Ylönen plays a much quieter game, but it is equally, and in some cases, stronger than HP's. Jesse Ylönen is a tremendous skater. He is defensively very sound. He is a very good defensive forward, and boy, does he have a wicked shot, particularly on the power play. His one-timer from the point is pretty sneaky and pretty darn good. So that, for me, is the first thing that Kent Hughes needs to do, is get Jesse Ylönen's contract locked up. Nick Bonin needs to be signed. He'll likely be, as we say, a 2-way deal. Lucas Kandata also got a qualifying offer. He will definitely be a 2-way deal. as will Mitchell Stevens. As we said, I believe they've already signed Mitchell Stevens. I think they just haven't announced it yet. And Jesse Ylönen needs to be top on the list, as does Alex Newhook, obviously. Kent Hughes has said that they have already started conversations with Alex Newhook. So I would expect that Alex Newhook and Jesse Ylönen will be the next two big contracts to get done. They're both very important for Kent Hughes to get done sooner rather than later. The next thing that I believe Kent Hughes really needs to check off the to-do list this summer is in the goaltending department. Yes, we are looking at an issue in goaltending depth as soon as you look beyond the NHL in the Canadiens organization. And I don't mean long-term in the future. I mean right now. I mean the 2023-24 season. You've got Jake Allen. You've got Sam Montembeault. Kent Hughes has said that it's a priority for him to try to start working this summer on Montembeault's contract extension because he is entering the last year of his contract. He'd like to get that done sooner rather than later. And Montembeault has indicated that he would like to get a contract done sooner rather than later. I still think that Kent Hughes could make some improvements at the NHL level for goaltending. Whether or not that's going to happen, I'm not confident that that's going to be a priority for him this year. Instead, where it's really concerning is at the AHL level and in terms of depth in goaltending, if you should happen to need a knock on wood call up due to an injury to either Sam Montembeault or Jake Allen. Because Caden Primo is waiver eligible this year. So Caden Primo is probably going to go into training camp thinking that he's going to battle with Sam Montembeault for the backup position. I, for one, do not believe Caden Primo is going to win that battle. It will be Montembeault backing up Allen once again. Caden Primo, while he has had decent success, not excellent, but decent success at the AHL in his position, he has not succeeded at all at the NHL level. He has not proven himself to be capable of carrying an NHL backup goaltender in NHL number 2 role. And as such, the Canadiens aren't going to be able to just keep him on the roster as a third goaltender in rotation and take up a spot on the 23-man roster, which means they will have to expose him to waivers. And it is very possible that he doesn't make it through waivers to get back to Laval, because another team could look at him as being the piece that they need for their AHL team and as an occasional call-up to the NHL in an injury situation. So you've got Caden Primo and Jakub Dobis, who is kind of the next crop of the Canadiens goaltending prospects, as a tandem in Laval, because Kevin Poulin is UFA, and the two ECHL goaltenders that they had, Philippe Desrosiers and former Montreal Canadiens prospect Joe Verbeek, also UFA this summer. No, and the three of them have not signed anywhere else yet, but they haven't signed in Laval. Laval made two AHL contract goaltender signings this week. Strauss Mann on a one-way AHL deal, and then Zachary Amond a two-way AHL deal. Both played in the ECHL last year. They will both likely be Trois-Rivières style goaltenders. So you could say, okay, Caden Primo, if he makes it through waivers, that would be a good tandem with Jakub Dobis. Jakub Dobis needs to get plenty of ice time to start learning the pro game and get his development underway, because goaltending is the longest position to develop. The problem comes if Caden Primo, and as I said, it is a very high possibility that Caden Primo gets claimed on waivers. That leaves you with Jakub Dobis in Laval and Strauss Mann, a guy who doesn't have a ton of AHL experience. That is not an ideal situation for Jakub Dobis. So what I believe Kent Hughes needs to do is, whether it's an AHL, a solid AHL veteran that they need to bring in to be the tandem with Jakub Dobis and can be that emergency recall if they need it, or they need to figure out something else to do at the NHL level, and Sam Montembeault becomes your go-between guy between the two. I don't know for sure which path Kent Hughes is going to take, but it's a glaring issue that is kind of on the precipice, and it all depends on whether or not Caden Primo makes it through waivers this fall. It's a little dicey. And I think this is probably going to be the most fascinating thing to keep an eye on this summer. Last but not least, I did say, love the Joel Edmundson trade, got some cap off the books. And I think the third thing that Kent Hughes needs to do this summer is keep going. There is more cap to be shed. any of Josh Anderson, Yoel Armia, Christian Dvorak, Mike Hoffman. These are guys that have a little bit of term left on their contracts and a decent amount of money on the books as well. Even just trading one of those and getting some more assets back, maybe that's what you use to get a goaltender back. That's a possibility. Maybe so then you could kill two birds with one stone on that to-do list if he pulls off a trade and gets some sort of goaltending solution back in the process. But some more cap does need to be shed for Kent Hughes, and one of those guys, if not two, I think could probably and should probably move away from the organization before training camp this fall. So those are the things that I think are the biggest priorities for Kent Hughes at this junction in the offseason. What do you think? I'd love to know what you think is the biggest one or two priorities that Kent Hughes needs to take care of between now and the start of rookie camp come September. Leave your answers in the comment section down below. And hey, if you're enjoying our show, if you love hearing this kind of content about the Montreal Canadiens, then I would just invite you to tap the subscribe button, also hit the notification bell, hit the like button, and of course, most importantly, tap that share button as well to share this episode on your favorite social media platform. As I said at the top of the show, last week was kind of our big draft recap episode. I graded every single draft pick that the Montreal Canadiens made. I also gave them an overall draft grade, and I even analyzed and graded the Alex Newhook trade that happened prior to the draft. If you happen to miss that episode, you might want to get caught up on that and check that out right here, and I'll see you again next week on Habs Hockey Report. Thanks for watching.